The prayer this afternoon will be offered by the good delegate representing Prince George's County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, let us pray. Lord, normally I offer a prayer that somebody else has written, but today I'm asking in my own words from my own heart that you bless this house and all the members. Help us to be peaceful and calm and respectful toward each other, and to do the people's work as best we know how, and to walk away from this session with our heads held high, no matter whether we win or lose on any particular issue, but knowing that we are doing the people's work and that we are setting an example for the whole world to watch on how to work together to make things better for the people of our state. Amen.
Amen. Quorum call.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their presence? If so, the clerk will take the call. There being 127 members present, the House is now in session. Clerk will read the journal from the previous day.
Annapolis, Maryland, April the 1st, 2023.
Recognizing the Deputy Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much be considered the reading of the journal.
So order petitions, memorials, and other papers. Yea and nay consent calendar number 10. House bills passed in the Senate. The clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 230.
Recognizing the Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So much to be considering HB 230 to be considered the reading of all the bills on the calendar.
So ordered. Report of the Committee on Judiciary. Report number 41. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 505, Criminal Procedure, Expungement and Shielding, Probation Before Judgment for Driving While Impaired or Under the Influence. Favor the amendments. Amendment number 1.
Madam Speaker.
Recognizing the Chairman of the Committee.
Move subject to be the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
Amendment number 1 is technical. Amendment number 2 alters the expungement part of the bill to only apply to probation before judgments for driving while impaired or under the influence of alcohol. It extends the waiting period of 15 years and strikes the shielding provisions. Amendment number 3 requires participation in the ignition interlock system by people who are convicted of or granted probation before judgment for driving while impaired by or under the influence of alcohol. Move the amendments.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, and amendments have been adopted. Question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title?
Madam Speaker.
Gentlelady from Baltimore County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Would the floor leader please rise?
Chairman of the committee.
Good evening.
Good afternoon, almost evening. I have a constituent that emailed me a question about this bill, and so I thought this would be the appropriate time to ask you this. So as the bill was amended, this may not be the case any longer. If someone gets a DUI and they get a PBJ, and then 15 years later they can expunge it, then they can get a second DUI, and your record is clear, and you can get another PBJ and get it expunged, and then there could be a third DUI, and the judge would never know about the first 2 DUIs. Is that a probable scenario or potential scenario?
There are a couple things. First of all, you can't get another PBJ for a driving under the influence in any case for after, unless there's 5 years that have elapsed. So that's one piece of the puzzle.
I think that's what they said. So you can
right.
get it expunged. So you get a DUI.
But
I'm sorry.
they can't get another PBJ within that first 5-year period.
Okay, but after the 5 they can.
After that, theoretically they could, but also when they've been pulled over for driving under the influence, it goes on their driving record that they've had to either take the suspension that comes from a DUI, or they have to take the interlock from getting the DUI. So there'll still be some record on the driving record, which all, let's say, state's attorneys get to deal with that issue.
What does the expungement? So can they get that expunged off their driving record?
You can't get anything expunged off of your driving record because
Ever.
you can't, because I think it's after 55 years. And the reason is that we're part of an interstate compact when it comes to driver's licenses and the information from that driver's license, which we share with other states, with 44 other states. So so that information has got to stay there. This would be it would be basically the court records of the expungement, but it would still show up on their driving record.
And the judge, Fortunately, I've never been to court for any of that. Does the judge look at the driving record as well as the court record?
The state's attorney prosecuting the case would be looking at the driving record.
Okay.
And they would present what they had on the driving record to the judge at the time of sentencing.
Thank you. And as our good friend from Carroll County used to say, what problem are we trying to solve with this bill?
Well, we're doing two things. One is we're requiring anyone who has gotten a PBJ to be enrolled in the interlock program. So that means that any PBJ or conviction would now be subject to having to get the interlock installed on your car. That is it's been a priority for MAD for some time. The second part of the bill now, on the expungement piece of the bill, that has been something that has been brought up, including by the minority leader not that long ago, talking about the fact that you cannot expunge PBJs for driving under the influence at all. That's our current law. This would open the door, and so the committee felt that if we were going to open this door, that we were going to require everybody to get the interlock after they either got a PBJ or a conviction for DUI.
Okay, thank you so much for your time.
Gentleman from Anne Arundel.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So we're taking away the judge's discretion for PBJ?
No.
On the interlock. Everyone that gets a PBJ will get an interlock.
They will get an interlock.
So
yes.
there is no judge's discretion. So we are removing that discretion from our judges.
Yes, but they don't have that in convictions as it stands right now.
But on PBJs they do.
On PBJs, they generally don't either, because they're not required to give the interlock.
They're not required, but they could. So we're removing that from our judiciary. Thank you. Thank you.
Is there any further debate? Hearing none, the bill is ordered past the third reading. Special order calendar number 58. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 164, driver's licenses, suspension for child support arrearages, exemption.
Chairman of the committee.
Madam Speaker, all of my questions have been answered.
Have it.
Madam Speaker, move so much be the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
Amendment number 1 is technical. Amendment number 2 strikes references to the Maryland Think Network, alters the time for an obligor to appeal to 30 days, and sunsets the bill after 2 years. Move the amendments.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The amendments have been adopted. The question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered past the third reading. Messages, Senate Bill 23. The clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 23, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and refrigeration services, journeyman license qualifications, amendment number 1.
Clerk will read the message from the Senate.
Ladies and gentlemen of the House of Delegates, the Senate refused to concur in the House amendments and respectfully requests the House will recede from its position. Said bill is returned herewith.
The clerk will read the message to the Senate.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, the House of Delegates does not recede in the House amendments and respectfully requests the Senator to reconsider and concur. Should the Senate prefer a conference committee to confer on the disagreeing votes of the two houses, the House appoints Delegate Sheet, Chair, Delegate Adams, and Delegate Crosby. Said bill is returned herewith.
Calendar of third reading Senate bills number 55. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 31, Baltimore City Board of School Commissioners, student members, and task force to study compensation and student members.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 113 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 31, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 325, Washington County Sheriff's Salary Alteration.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 137 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 325, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 526, Natural Resources, Forest Preservation and Retention.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 132 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 526, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 641, Law Enforcement Officers Pension System, City of Bowie Police Department Transfers and Purchases of Service.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There have been 138 votes in the affirmative. Senate Bill 641, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 707, Public Safety, Deputy State Fire Marshal, Probationary Status and Promotion.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 139 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 707, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read next bill.
Senate Bill 722, State Department of Assessments and Taxation, Mandatory Retirement Age, repeal.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There will be 138 votes in the affirmative. Senate Bill 722, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read next bill.
Senate Bill 922, Maryland Construction, Education, and Innovation Fund funding alteration.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 138 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 922, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed.
Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, over here.
Oh,
I am standing.
yes. Could your voice sound like it's over here?
No. Somebody told me to stand up, and I said I am standing. I'm sorry, Madam
Prince
Speaker.
George's.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. For SB 526, I'd like to be counted in the green. I accidentally pushed the button before the bell. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Get your gold slip up. So.
Madam Speaker.
Yes.
Sorry, Madam Speaker.
Yes.
On SB 641, I'd like to be recorded in the green, please.
Okay. Get your slip up. Any other vote changes? Calendar of third reading, Senate Bills number 56. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 310, Natural Resources Black Bear Damage Mitigation Reimbursement Fund, uses.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 138 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 310, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 434, Natural Resources Restorative Aquaculture Pilot Program.
Is on third reading and final passage. Thank you. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 102 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 434, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 470, Natural Resources Land Conservation Establishment of Goals and Programs, Maryland the Beautiful Act.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 133 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 470, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 476, Recordation Tax Indemnity Mortgage Exemption Threshold Amount.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 137 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 476, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 483, Private Well Safety Act of 2023.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 101 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 483, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 551, Department of Service and Civic Innovation and Maryland Corps Program Service Year Option Pathways established, servicing every region through Vocational Exploration Act of 2023.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 117 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 551, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Calendar of third reading, Senate Bills number 66. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 24, Department of Transportation Financing and Commission on Transportation Revenue and Infrastructure Needs, State and Federal Transportation Funding Act.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 129 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 24, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 848, Statewide Rental Assistance Voucher Program Establishment.
is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 105 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 848, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed.
Madam Speaker. For vote change.
General from Montgomery.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My button didn't work on SB 476. I'd like to be recorded in the green.
Gentleman from Eastern Shore.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Senate Bill 24, I'd like to be recorded in the red.
Gentleman from Anne Arundel.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Vote change on SB 24 to red.
Any other vote changes? Okay. Calendar of third reading, Senate Bills number 67. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 516, Cannabis Reform.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? Oh, I'm sorry. Chairman of the committee.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have an amendment at the desk.
Is it committee or him?
Move so much be considered the reading of the amendment.
So ordered.
The amendment number is SB 0516/703-424/1.
Amendment number 1.
The amendment is technical. Please move the amendment.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Is there any debate? Is there any further debate? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 102 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 516, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed.
Madam
Lady
Speaker.
from Prince George's.
Thank you. My button did not work, and if I could please be recorded in the green for SB 516. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Okay. Gentlelady from Hartford.
Madam Speaker, I'd like to be a nay on SB 31.
Any other vote changes or votes? Okay. Report of the Committee on Rules and Executive Nominations. Report number 10. Clerk will read the bills.
Senate Bill 307, re-referred to Economic Matters. Senate Bill 367, re-referred to Appropriations. Senate Bill 485, re-referred to Environment and Transportation. Senate Bill 934, re-referred to Appropriations.
Okay. House Bill amended in the Senate. House Bill 432. The clerk will read the bill and the Senate amendments.
House Bill 432, Prince George's County Chief Executive Officer of the Public School System, alterations to Title and Search Committee requirements. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair. House Bill 432.
Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker.
Yeah. Chair of the committee.
Thank you. Move not to concur with Senate amendments.
The motion before the House is to not concur in the Senate amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendments are rejected. Clerk will read the message to the Senate.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, the House of Delegates refuses to concur in the Senate amendments and respectfully requests the Senate recede from its position. Should the Senate prefer a conference committee to confer the disagreeing votes of the two houses, the House appoints Delegate Charles Chair, Delegate D. Barnes, and Delegate Griffith. Said bill is returned herewith.
Concurrence calendar number 22. The clerk will read the bill and the Senate amendments.
House Bill 11, Private Well Safety Act of 2023, Amendment number 1.
Recognizing committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We move to concur in the Senate amendments.
Question for the House is to concur in the Senate amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 11 is on third reading and final passage. The clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 102 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 11, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 123, Vehicle Lanes, HOV Lanes, Plug-in Electric Drive Vehicles, Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We move to concur in the Senate amendments.
Question for the House is to concur in the Senate amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed?
Madam Speaker.
The ayes have it. Gentlemen, you're up for what reason?
I was just curious what those amendments were. No, either.
It changes from may to shall regarding MVA charging for the plaque or the placard that you put on.
I'm not sure I know what that means. So.
That you put on your car to say you can drive in the HOV lane. They have to charge.
So now if you're an electric vehicle, you have to pay?
You have to pay to get the little HOV sticker. Sticker was the word I was looking for, not placard. Yes, the HOV sticker.
So is that parity now with the non-electric cars?
No, not unless you're driving. It doesn't change the bill. We had this debate before. It doesn't change the bill. All of the amendments say is that if a plug-in electric vehicle driver would like to drive in the HOV lanes, the MVA shall charge for the sticker.
Okay, so I guess it's a special sticker that's like a different color to show that it's an electric car?
It just says that they can drive in the HOV lane.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is there any further debate? House Bill 123 is on third reading and final passage. Clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 103 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 123, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed.
Madam Speaker.
Clerk, read next bill. Yes.
I
Young lady from Prince George's.
I apologize. I was explaining the bill and my button didn't work. So I would like to be recorded in the green. Thank you. I'm sorry. That was House Bill 123.
House Bill 239, Accessory Dwelling Unit Policy Task Force, Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move to concur in the Senate amendments.
Question for the House is to concur in the Senate amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 239 is on third reading and final passage. The clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 125 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 239, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Back there in that corner. You guys are noisy. Please, I can't, Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 325, Provision of Veterinary Services, Practice of Veterinary Medicine, and Rabies Vaccines, Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We move to concur in the Senate amendments.
Question for the House is to concur in the Senate amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 325, having received is on third reading and final passage. The clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 117 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 325, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 827, Prince George's County Gateway Arts Development Authority, established. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move to concur in the Senate amendments.
Question for the House is to concur in the Senate amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 827 is on third reading and final passage. The clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 138 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 827, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 950, Maryland Native Plants Program, Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move to concur in the Senate amendments.
Question for the House is to concur in the Senate amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 950 is on third reading and final passage. Clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 134 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 950, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1049, Transportation, Assaults on Public Transit Operators, report.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move to concur in the Senate amendments.
Question for the House is to concur in the Senate amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 1049 is on third reading and final passage. Clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 139 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1049, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed.
Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from Washington County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Yea to nay on Senate Bill 24.
Gentlelady from Baltimore County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My button didn't work on HB 827. I'd like to be recorded as green.
Any other vote changes? Okay. Concurrence calendar number 23. The clerk will read the bill and the Senate amendments.
House Bill 153, Baltimore City Board of School Commissioners, student members, and task force to study compensation and student members, amendment number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move to concur with the Senate amendments.
Question for the House is to concur in the Senate amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 153 is on third reading and final passage.
I was just curious what the Senate amendments were.
Madam Speaker.
Yes, Chairwoman.
Thank you. The Senate amendment limits the students who may vote on the student member of the Baltimore City Board of School Commissioners to high school students in the public school system, bringing the bill, into the same posture as the Senate cross file passed by the House.
So they're still studying whether or not to pay the students?
I'm sorry?
Are they still studying whether or not they should pay students?
Yes.
Got it. Thank you.
Is there any further debate? House Bill 153 is on third reading and final passage. The clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 115 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 153, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 243, Baltimore City Young Readers Program and Young Readers Matching Grant Program, alterations, Young Readers Program Act of 2023, amendment number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move to concur with the Senate amendments, which simply fixes a technical error.
Question before the House is to concur in the Senate amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 243 is on third reading and final passage. The clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 140 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 243, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Concurrence calendar number 24. The clerk will read the bill and the Senate amendments.
House Bill 587, Baltimore City Alcoholic Beverages Class A 7 beer, wine, and liquor licenses. Amendment number 1.
Committee chair, committee vice chair, or floor leader? Okay, floor leader. Supposed to recognize the committee chair.
Madam Speaker.
Recognizing the vice chair of the committee.
Move to concur with the Senate amendments.
Question for the House is to concur in the Senate amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 587 is on third reading and final passage. The clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 140 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 587, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 909, State Commission of Real Estate Appraisers, Appraisal Management Companies, and Home Inspectors, Sunset Extension, Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move to concur on Senate amendments.
Question for the House is to concur in the Senate amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 909 is on third reading and final passage. Clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There have been 140 votes in the affirmative. House Bill 909, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 917, Baltimore City Alcoholic Beverages, 46th Alcoholic Beverages District, Revisions, Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move to concur with the Senate amendments.
Questions before the House is to concur in the Senate amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 917 is on third reading and final passage. Clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will call the roll. Take the call. There will be 140 votes in the affirmative. House Bill 917, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Concurrence calendar number 25. The clerk will read the bill and the Senate amendments.
House Bill 1298, prior authorizations of state debt alterations, Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Move to concur.
Question for the House is to concur in the Senate amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 1298 is on third reading and final passage. The clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 140 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1298, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Concurrence calendar number 26. The clerk will read the bill and the Senate amendments.
House Bill 1219, Maryland Educator Shortage Act of 2023, Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move to concur with the Senate amendments.
Question for the House is to concur in the Senate amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 1219 is on third reading and final passage. Clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 134 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1219, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Concurrence calendar number Concurrence calendar number 27. The clerk will read the bill and the Senate amendments.
House Bill 226, criminal law, person in a position of authority, sexual offenses with a minor, amendment number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Move to concur with the Senate amendments.
Question before the House is to concur in the Senate amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 226 is on third reading and final passage. Clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 139 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 226, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read next bill.
Madam Speaker, my little button didn't work. I vote green, please, on 226.
Okay. Get the gold slip up here.
House Bill 297, criminal law, victims of child sex trafficking and human trafficking, safe harbor and service response, amendment number 1.
Is recognizing the committee chair.
Move to concur in the Senate amendments.
Okay. Question for the House is to concur in the Senate amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 297 is on third reading and final passage. Clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There will be 140 votes in the affirmative. House Bill 297, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 758, sexual assault evidence collection kits, preservations and storage, amendment number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Move to concur in the Senate amendments.
Question for the House is to concur in the Senate amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 758 is on third reading and final passage. Clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 140 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 758, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Concurrence calendar number 28. The clerk will read the bill and the Senate amendments.
House Bill 62, land use, public service companies, pollinator-friendly vegetation management, and utility-designated pollinator areas, amendment number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Move to concur with the Senate amendments, Madam Chair, or Speaker.
The question for the House is to concur in the Senate amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 62 is on third reading and final passage. The clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 108 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 62, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read next bill.
House Bill 169, public utilities, energy efficiency and conservation programs, energy performance targets, and low-income housing, amendment number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We move to concur with the Senate amendments.
Question for the House is to concur in the Senate amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 169 is on third reading and final passage. The clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 102 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 169, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 630, utility account holders, victims of abuse protections, amendment number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We move to concur with the Senate amendments.
Question for the House is to concur in the Senate amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 630 is on third reading and final passage. The clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 138 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 630, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read next bill.
House Bill 784, Prince George's County Alcoholic Beverages Class B Beer, Wine, and Liquor Licenses, Inspections, Penalties, and Work Group. Amendment number 1.
Well, you both are up. Recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We move to concur with the Senate amendments.
Question for the House is to concur in the Senate amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 784 is on third reading and final passage. Clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There be 139 votes in the affirmative. House Bill 784, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 908, Electricity Community Solar Energy Generating Systems Program and Property Taxes. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We move to concur with the Senate amendments.
Question for the House is to concur in the Senate amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 908 is on third reading and final passage. Clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 103 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 908, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read next bill.
House Bill 910, Energy Storage Targets and Maryland Energy Storage Program Establishment. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We move to concur with the Senate amendments.
Question for the House is to concur in the Senate amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 910 is on third reading and final passage. Clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 103 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 910, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read next bill.
House Bill 1188, Public Utilities Certificate of Public Convenience and Necessity Solar Photovoltaic Systems. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We move to concur with the Senate amendments.
Question for the House is to concur in the Senate amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 1188 is on third reading and final passage. Clerk will call roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 103 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1188, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed.
What are we doing?
Madam Speaker.
Recognizing the Chair of Ways and Means.
I'm sorry. House Bill 1188, my finger didn't work because the chair of ECM was distracting me. So I would like to be recorded in the green on my bill, please.
Okay. Get the
Thank you, Madam
slip
Speaker.
up, please. Mm-hmm. Do you have something else that you would?
And also, Madam Speaker, the Ways and Means Committee needs to go to the old House chamber right now.
Okay. Ways and Means Committee, Old House Chambers. Pronto. We're going to take a little pause. So if anybody want to visit any of the rooms over here. Chairman, Economic Matters.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The House Economic Matters Committee needs to meet in the Silver Room as soon as you all leave the floor.
Silver
right now.
Room,
Correct.
Economic Matters.
Thank you.
Right now. Report of the Committee on Ways and Means, report number 34. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 678, sales and use tax, electricity for agricultural purposes. Favor of the amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the floor.
Madam Speaker.
Yes, there you are. Floor leader.
So much be considered the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
Amendment number 1 is technical. Amendment number 2 strikes the bill and requires the comptroller, in consultation with certain entities, to study and report to the General Assembly on exempting electricity from the sales and use tax if the electricity is purchased by a farmer for a certain purpose. Move the amendments.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The amendments have been adopted. Question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read next bill.
Senate Bill 240, income tax, out-of-state taxes paid by pass-through entities, addition modification. Favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered past the third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 640, sales and use tax, electricity for agricultural purposes, exemption. Favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Madam Speaker.
Recognizing the floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So much be considered the reading of the amendment.
So ordered.
Amendment number 1 is technical. Amendment 2 strikes the bill and requires the comptroller, in consultation with certain entities, to study and report to the General Assembly on exempting electricity from the sales and use tax if the electricity is purchased by a farmer for certain purposes. Move the amendments.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The amendments have been adopted. Question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered past the third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 846, libraries, circulation records, inspection, use, or disclosure requirement revision. Favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered passed for third reading. Concurrence calendar number 29. The clerk will read the bill and the Senate amendments.
House Bill 830, residential construction or significant renovation, electric vehicle charging. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We move to concur with the Senate amendments.
Question for the House is to concur in the Senate amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 830 is on third reading and final passage. Clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 102 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 830, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Concurrence calendar number 30. Clerk will read the bill and the Senate amendments.
Household 982, state employees, programs and scholarships for human services, careers, and probationary agents, and state contributions to supplemental retirement plans. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move to concur.
Question for the House is to concur in the Senate amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 982 is on third reading and final passage. Clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 130 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 982, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed.
Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from the Eastern Shore.
Sorry, Madam Speaker. My button didn't work on that last bill. I'd like to be recorded in the red.
Madam Speaker.
Gentlelady from Carroll.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Vote change SB 24 to nay, please.
Any other vote changes? Yes, gentlelady from Hartford. Frederick, excuse me.
It's okay. Madam Speaker, vote change on SB 24, yea to nay, please. Thank you.
Any other vote changes? Quorum call.
Madam Speaker.
Clerk will take the call. There being 132 members present, the House is still in session. Calendar of third reading Senate bills number 57. Calendar of third reading Senate bills number 57. The clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 610, primary and secondary education, virtual education.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? Recognizing the gentleman from the Eastern Shore.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Amendment 923523/1.
Amendment number 1.
Move so much. Consider reading the amendment.
So ordered.
The amendment adds 3 years to a sunset. Move the amendment.
Question for the body is the. Oh, I'm sorry. Recognizing the floor leader.
Hiding behind the screen. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I urge the body to resist this amendment. The school system has already got 2 more years to transition, and this is an unnecessary additional number of years, and so I urge the body to resist the amendment.
Recognizing the gentleman from Eastern Shore.
Well, I guess I'm going to talk about the amendment now, I suppose. I was hoping that the floor leader was not paying attention, but apparently he wasn't at first. So this, first I'm going to talk about the bill, and so this bill isn't so bad. After any jurisdictions west of the Chesapeake Bay, it really has very little effect on them. And there's one line in the budget that has a detrimental effect on the 9 counties on the Eastern Shore, and this is the reason why I stand with this amendment. What I want to do is go back to 1986, and what the Eastern Shore counties did, because most of the counties on the shore, except for Wicomico County, they're small counties. They're considered small counties. Wicomico is a medium-sized county, and unfortunately, they're at a competitive disadvantage by being a small county. So what they ended up doing is they created what's called the Eastern Shore of Maryland Education Consortium, and they did that not for political reasons. They did it in order to save money and to be able to, because you have more buying power when you can combine 9 counties instead of just 1. So it sort of evolved over the years, and then when COVID, the pandemic hit us, what they did is the 9 counties collectively, they went out to search for a platform that would allow for a blended virtual system. So that way our students they can go to class if they wanted to, but they can also learn at home. And the only product that was on the market at the time was a for-profit program. It's called the Apex program. And as it turns out, this is a program that works, and it works very, very well. The students like it, the parents like it, the teachers like it, the local governing bodies like it, the school boards do. No one dislikes this program because it works so well. And what this bill is going to do, it allows them to continue with this program over the next 2 years. Unfortunately, after that, unless there is a not-for-profit program that's out there that will take its place, this will not serve them anymore. And unfortunately, as we speak right now, there's nothing on the market from a nonprofit perspective that's going to be able to serve these 9 counties. And so originally what I wanted to do is actually strike that one line in this bill, it says a county board may not contract with a for-profit entity, but may contract with a nonprofit entity to operate or administer a virtual school for the county board. I wanted to strike that line altogether, but I think as a reasonable compromise, what I wanted to do, because in the bill there's a 2-year sunset, I wanted to add another 3 years in order to give more time so that way we can find a nonprofit that could actually do this service. Folks, when we take this vote, you're going to see on the board 9 delegates from the Eastern Shore, the 2 on the bottom and then the 6 on the top of the last column. You're going to see green on every one of these. And what I'm asking you all to do on this one, this is a local courtesy bill. This is a delegation where you're going to see bipartisan support for this amendment. I'm asking you all to please support this amendment because the kids that actually take advantage of it, we're only talking about a little over 200 kids in 9 counties. But these are kids that will take advantage of it if we have another natural disaster, if we have another pandemic. These are kids with special needs. We have kids that take advantage of the program when they're bullied in school. And I want to make a couple also very quick points too. These students aren't going to be students of a private school. They're not. They're still public school students who are just using a program at home. So which means that their counselors are still making sure that these kids are headed in the right directions. If they have special needs, they're going to be case managed by their instructors. And I also want to say too, and I know what the reason why we're going to resist the amendment, I know why we're going to do it, is because we have a reluctance to use public money in a private contract or a for-profit contract. I know that that's sort of a consistent argument that I know that MSEA has. And I understand it. But in this case, we're talking about such few students. And I will also remind you guys that we use private contractors to develop curriculum in many cases. We have the Selinger formula. That's public money that goes to private institutions. Johns Hopkins University. We have a lot of public money that goes to a private institution. And also, too, on the Eastern Shore now, they're not exempt from this bill from doing this, but they use the same vendor, Apex, for their credit recovery programs and their tutoring programs. So again, this is a local courtesy, and I'm just asking you all to sort of buck our tradition on this one particular bill. Give them a couple more years, and the reason why I say they need a couple more years too, because when they do this transition, they're not going to be able to do it right away. And if we're not going to take the amendment here, I'm pretty sure that next year or the year after, when they don't have a vendor out there that's a private company or a not-for-profit company, we're going to have to get a bill passed. And it's going to be a heck of a lot harder to get a bill passed through the General Assembly than it is for you guys to vote green on this amendment. So I move the amendment, Madam Speaker.
Floor Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you to the gentleman for sharing the amendment with me. I also commend the Eastern Shore for taking initiative in this tough situation and creating a virtual school situation. But what this comes down to is a basic concept for us of letting for-profits run a school versus having nonprofits run a school. And as far as charter schools go, we watched what happened around the country with for-profit charters in states like Michigan and Ohio. They failed miserably. This is not to say that every for-profit will fail miserably, but there's a risk because a for-profit has an inherent conflict of interest. They want to make money while they're educating our students, and every dollar they spend on our students is a dollar out of their profit. Now, that doesn't say that they wouldn't do a very good job with what they do, but some do very poorly. And a decision was made when we started our charter school system in this state that we would allow nonprofits to run them. Now, nonprofits can run them. They can hire for-profit services if they feel like they're appropriate. But nonprofits have a board, and the board will have the best interests at heart. And so this comes down to basically the Eastern Shore started as a fully for-profit. The company is known as Apex. I will point out that Apex has been sold. It's sold to a new company named Edmonton. And this is the danger. It can change hands. I have a couple of negative reviews on Edmonton. I don't know if they're accurate, but the point is we can't roll the dice with our student. And the students on the Eastern Shore deserve the same commitment to quality that we have for those in the rest of the state. Even if the counties in Western Maryland decide to form a consortium if they are indeed interested in economy of size.
Madam Speaker.
I'm sorry, I wasn't done.
Okay, I just had a question for you.
Well, thanks. I'm not quite finished.
Courtesy will allow the gentleman to complete what he has to say.
Thank you.
I'd be happy to.
So this is really comes down to this now. We understand the difficulty of switching over. They've fallen into a pattern of using Apex. This gives them over 2 years to make that transition. They would not have to begin to work with a nonprofit until the 2025-2026 school year. We feel like that's a fair amount of time. The bill, when it came across this House last year and we passed it, allowed for 2 years. We pushed it back a year and allowed for another year because we're passing it now. But I would like to think that the Eastern Shore kind of had a sense that we were going to move them in this direction on their virtual schools. Thank you.
Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from Calvert.
Sure, I had a question for the floor leader.
Floor leader.
Is the existing nonprofit doing the job they're supposed to be doing?
There's no data. The State Department of Education is very concerned about them, but we haven't gathered data right now, so we're unsure.
So why not wait until you gather the data before you cancel them?
Because we're not going to roll the dice with our students.
But we do that all the time here in Maryland, where we have 23 schools in one jurisdiction that are all failed schools. So I guess my question is if you have a system that's already working and the folks on the Eastern Shore say it's working, and they are saying it's working, why not go with local privilege and say, wait till we have the data before we cancel the existing agreement that is indeed working in their own words? I don't understand why that's a problem. I mean, I know that the union drives a lot of these decisions on your side with the majority party, and I know that they're calling the shots. But maybe for once, if you just gave local privilege, maybe that would be the right thing to do for the students, because they're telling you that the students are being well served. And you're saying you don't know whether they are or they aren't. And what I'm saying is why not take their word for it? It is their delegation, after all, sir.
Did you have the survey or the report?
I'm listening to my colleagues who are saying, as a delegation, that it works for them.
It's anecdotal at best.
It's anecdotal at best. Okay, so that's just insulting to the delegation. And I know that, we talked about the rule book before, and you always say these are our rules, and you're right, they are your rules. And they are routinely broken by you in terms of the delegation like this who are saying that this particular program works for them. And what I'm trying to bring home here is that at a minimum, you should defer to them until such time as you have the data and trust your colleagues who are telling you that it's working now.
Is there a question there?
It's just a comment, and the arrogance is very obvious for the people of
Excuse me, what was that word?
I said arrogance. It just seems
Whose
very arrogant.
arrogance?
The arrogance of the actual policy itself of not giving local privilege, Madam Speaker.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam
Let's
Speaker.
hear actually from someone who lives in the Eastern Shore. Go ahead.
Madam Speaker, sponsor of the bill, yes. This is something that's working for us on the Eastern Shore. We're a very small part of this state, but we have a group of people that are highly paid professionals that have agreed that this is very good for our students. It may not work in every district. All we're asking for here is the courtesy to allow us to continue with what we're doing. This is something that's working for our children. Now, aren't we here about the children? I hear that every day in this General Assembly. And you're sitting here saying, well, it doesn't work for those people, but it works for these, and we're all of a sudden segmenting them out of our group. Why are we doing that?
Well, we're not sure it's working. And in fact, the state superintendent has weighed in that he's not at all convinced it's working. Now, I don't know what his data is, but there's concern there. And I got to point out again that for-profits can change hands. This one has. And so this is a bit of a roll of the dice. And we're not willing to roll the dice with our students here on the Eastern Shore or in Western Maryland, and we would be, in my opinion.
But the Eastern Shore is willing to roll that dice. Now, we're not talking about a lot of money here. We're willing to do that because it's working for us. It's not going to work in maybe Baltimore City, Howard County, or whatever, but this is working for us. And our people, the people that actually care about our kids, the Eastern Shore delegation, is looking at this as something very positive. I don't understand why we'd even remotely think that this is a decent bill. It's not hurting anybody if we continue. Who's it hurting?
So this is your question, who is it hurting?
Who is it hurting? Yeah, that's a good question.
The danger is that for-profits have a record of doing poorly. They have basically at their core a conflict of interest, and we're not willing to roll the dice with the students on the Eastern Shore. We want them to have the best education, and from an educational perspective, we're pretty sure that nonprofits can do the job. Our charter system is one of the best charter systems in the country. And part of that is because our charter system is run entirely by nonprofits.
Not everything works the same way for everyone. Our delegation, our group, SMEC, has all decided this is a very good thing for us. And again, you can sit down and talk about nonprofits all day, and I appreciate the fact that they're there, but for-profits are also in there. They have to have results. Nonprofits don't have to have realistic results. These people have proven over the years they have results. This is a good amendment. I would think, just out of courtesy, it'd be something you'd have to look at and say, this is good for the kids. It's working. Let it work.
I believe the courtesy was allowing 2.5 years for a transition.
But it's been working for us, sir, with all due respect. It's been working for the Eastern Shore. It's not going to work for everybody, but it's working for us. That's what we're looking for here. If you have a better idea on how it can work for us, our people have all decided it works. Why all the fuss? I don't understand it.
Well, I think we do have a better idea. That's the point, I think.
I'm sorry?
I think we do have a better idea, and I think that's the point.
Well, you don't for us. You don't for the Eastern Shore. And it's been, like I said, it's been working for us. Allow us to continue with what we're doing. Everybody in our group who are highly educated, I mean, we are the Eastern Shore. We're on the south side of all of this. Let it work for us. That's all. It's an easy amendment. It won't hurt you. It won't hurt anybody else in the system. If you can tell me who it's going to hurt, I'll be okay with it. But I don't see this hurting anyone.
That's not a question, but thank you for your opinion.
Gentleman from the Eastern Shore, who's behind you?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So, to the floor leader, so my understanding of this, it is very successful. This program was designed with the state superintendent weighing in when this was designed, so this sudden change of heart. Do you understand that to be correct?
That's the information I have, yes.
Right, so designed with the state superintendent. So now all of a sudden you're saying we have a change, which I find, I'd like to understand why. When we have results where we have graduation rates and success rates better than many of the public schools that we have in the state. So give me hard facts, give me real data, why this doesn't work for the state. Tell me the real answer.
The real answer is that for-profits fail, and we can't take that risk. I will tell you that the superintendent who approved this program is no longer the state superintendent. We have a new one who's making that evaluation now.
Okay. Just because the state superintendent changes.
But you said that the superintendent had a change of heart. We had a change of superintendent.
So this was designed by a state superintendent, have an input, successful. Tell me the only difference.
Again, the success hasn't been verified.
So is this for-profit company union?
I don't know.
No, I think that's the difference, and that's the concern. We have something that's working.
Okay, I got information.
We're punishing the children.
Could I answer your previous question? I have an answer to it.
There was no question.
About the union.
Go ahead.
No, they're not.
They're not union, correct. So that's the only difference. We have success. We have a success rate higher than public schools in the state of Maryland, graduation rates, success rates, and we're going to just punish them because they're not union.
We searched for that report, but we didn't find anything that said this. That actually, they're performing not great according to the MSD. It's not exact data, but they're not pleased with the performance rate right now.
I don't understand when you're saying you don't have exact data and you can say they're not performing well.
No, you're the one who said they're doing great, and I said that data doesn't exist.
There is success, not to the extent of children that are in school in a day-to-day program where they're attending school. I blame that on the virtual concept. However, some folks, for other reasons, do better in a virtual atmosphere. And this is the case where we have students that prefer, we're talking on the whole Eastern Shore, something over 200 children. This isn't a huge program. But when we talk about local control, I have to agree with the maker of the amendment. We're asking for local courtesy. Folks, body, colleagues, when is enough enough? This is something that works, something that we're asking for, and I would certainly ask you for a green vote. Thank you.
Other gentleman from the Eastern Shore.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I'd like to speak on the amendment, and primarily in defense of every Board of Education and superintendent on the Eastern Shore. When I heard my colleague talk about decisions being made as a roll of the dice, I think that is speaking to the wisdom of these local Board of Education and superintendents to make these decisions, which I will assure you are made in a better condition than as a roll of the dice in a casino. The other thing that I would say in response to this is, if you're a for-profit business and you heard this floor debate, for the past half hour indicting their potential and it seems anecdotal ability to deliver on behalf of the kids. What do you think this for-profit business will do over the next 12 months? My suspicion is they will over-deliver in order to show you and the members of the legislature how wrong you are. And frankly, even if that's wrong, if we come back next year and we realize that the stats are saying something that's consistent with what the floor leader is suggesting, well, you know what? What would stop the legislature from cold turkey saying, no, we're going to stop this now? So I go back to my original point and why I'm supporting the amendment maker's request here is that this is local courtesy and that this is not a roll of the dice, and I would think that every superintendent and Board of Education member, were they standing in this seat and talking to the legislature, would strongly take offense to the idea that they make decisions on the roll of the dice for their children.
Another gentleman from the Eastern Shore.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Again, this is to say it's a roll of the dice is insulting. It's insulting to a lot of folks. This was approved by our local boards. This is approved by the Eastern Shore Education of Maryland Consortium. This is also approved by the Maryland State Department of Education. And for any of us to stand here as an individual to say that, make a broad sweeping assumption that every single private for-profit entity that's out there is going to do a terrible job, I don't know what else to say other than the fact that, I mean, we're borderline obtuse here, to be quite honest. I mean, this is I can't wrap my head around this. I cannot wrap my head around this. And I want to remind everyone, I mean, we're talking about kids, we're talking about a little over 200 kids in 9 counties. Oftentimes they're bullied. You know, these are kids with special needs. These are kids who aren't doing a very good job socially in a learning environment in person. And these are still full-time public school students that we're talking about. This is a blended virtual system, not 100% virtual with a private company. No, this is a blended system. They're public school students who are learning from school on a platform that is constructed by a private company. That's it. That's just the reason why we're opposed to it, because we're opposed to... I can tell you, if you're in an elementary school and the HVAC system goes up, do you think the teachers or the employees are going to fix it? No, they're going to hire a private for-profit contractor to come out and fix it. There's example after example after example in our school systems that we're using private entities, for-profit entities, in order for them to get by. Folks, I don't know what else to say. I mean, I'm pleading to you all. I'm asking you to go against what we've done in the past. I'm asking you to vote green on the amendment. You know what? I understand why we support the committees, but this is a local issue, and I'm asking you all to support local people. Thank you.
Gentleman on the amendment.
So I have 30 kids in my county who participate in this. And I'm sitting here, and you know, I don't normally get up and talk on the floor. I leave that to other people who like to do this kind of stuff. But I'm sitting there thinking, okay, I got 30 students. Do I sit here and just be quiet and just let everybody else do the work for me, or do I get up and say something for those kids? There's nothing I wouldn't do for those kids, even this. So I'm just asking, you know, in the best fashion I know how, that great moments are born from great opportunities. And that's what we have here. We've earned that today. Many times we'll be told to resist amendment and vote that way. But not this one. Not this one. This one, we have the opportunity to do something so cool that we can go home and say we did the right thing for these 30 students and the rest of the students on the Eastern Shore. I love all y'all. Show me you love me. Thank you.
Madam Speaker.
Floor leader.
I'm going to ask you to resist this amendment. It's being a little mischaracterized. The Eastern Shore will still have a virtual school. It will just be run by a different group of people, okay? We're not going to take those 30 students and no longer let them be in a virtual school anymore. This school, this system, the Eastern Shore Consortium, will have 2 years to make a transition. And when they make that transition, then we'll be working with the school, with a nonprofit. And nonprofits, if you look at them, they run good schools. Look at our charter system. It's functioning really well, and only nonprofits run them. And by the way, it was mentioned that there are no platforms out there. I have a list of 10 right here okay, that are virtual platforms out there. I want to also point out that once you use a nonprofit, according to this bill, you'll be using certified teachers in the state of Maryland, whereas currently this company doesn't have to use Maryland certified teachers. All of these things are important because these are our students. It is about the children. This is not a local bill. This is a statewide bill, and it's very important that we care about children on the Eastern Shore as much as we care about them in other places, with what has proved out that nonprofits tend to function better. For-profits can be a risk. Thank you.
Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from the Eastern Shore.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So you say this isn't a statewide bill, but it comes down to just affecting the Eastern Shore. The Eastern Shore is the one that has a program in place that's proven working right now. You say there's 10 other options. And unfortunately, our superintendents and the person that runs the consortium doesn't agree. Because right now we feel like there's no other option. With this amendment, we have time to explore other options and create something. So body, I ask you to please support this amendment. Madam Speaker, I ask you to press the amendment.
Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from the Eastern Shore.
So I guess this is the second time I'm going to be shaking my head in session. We have a great amendment that this is about the Eastern Shore. And I've shared with many of you that I lived on the Western Shore. I lived in Baltimore City. I saw the differences of what happens on the Western Shore versus the Eastern Shore. We have a great program that is working now, and all this amendment is doing is asking us to find a little bit of time to find the right program for our children. The Eastern Shore group here does not want this. They want us to support this amendment, and I ask this body to support this amendment, please. Thank you.
Gentleman from the Eastern Shore.
Madam Speaker, will Floor Leader rise one time?
Floor Leader.
I got really confused when you were sitting back saying something about nonprofits being superior to a for-profit.
Never used the word superior, but
you didn't say that, but you said nonprofits are better suited. Yes. Okay, a for-profit, in my world, the one I exist in, a for-profit has to sell something that is of value. They are funded by the dollars that they're able to glean from the product that they're selling. Mm-hmm. A nonprofit is funded by people like you and me who have a sincere desire to help. I don't think the accountability is the same. Am I right or wrong?
It's a parallel that doesn't work for me. We had an example drawn of private companies coming to fix HVACs. Our students are not HVAC systems, okay? We cannot, if you have an HVAC system that's not working, what do? You throw it away, okay, if it never works for you. We don't do that with students, and so we can't compare the business model to dealing with our students, and I prefer not to.
But you may prefer that, but the Eastern Shore sits back and we have results. We have absolute clear results that are working for us. If this is about you and what you represent, I'm fine with that.
It is not.
It is, because you're sitting back saying that anything the Eastern Shore right now is telling you is working for us in the theory that we're working for our students. We care about the kids that we're educating. It may not work for you and your group, whoever you represent, but it's working for us. Give us the courtesy to use something that's working for our students. This is about our kids. This is not about you and your idealistic ways. This is about our children.
Madam Speaker.
Is that wrong?
No. Yes.
Madam Speaker.
Chair of Ways and Means.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think this conversation that some of us alluded to earlier, we'd like to have a conversation, is turning a little unpleasant. And so I'm going to stand up, even though I think my subcommittee chair is doing a fantastic job, but I would appreciate not impugning his motives. I would urge the body to resist this amendment for a couple of reasons. One, everyone who has stood up to speak on behalf of this particular school has not pointed to any facts or any data that the school is actually being successful. No data has been provided to the committee or anyone else that the school is successful. What we do know about the school is that 80% of the time, those students are sitting there watching videos. There is no interactive learning taking place. That's what we do know, and that does not benefit kids. So only 20% of the time are they actually being interactive with a teacher on the screen. Studies do show, and I'm not impugning nonprofits. I'm not against nonprofits. My father has had a business that has helped me have a very lovely life, so I am not against nonprofits. But studies show that for-profit schools place a limit on kids' healthy, social, and emotional development. They have dismal outcomes exactly for what I just pointed out. 80% of the time, kids are sitting there looking at videos. So I appreciate the concern for the Eastern Shore. This is not a local amendment because this is a statewide bill. The Ways and Means Committee and the gentleman who did a fantastic job working on this bill has the interest of all the children in the state of Maryland. And for that reason, I would ask this body to resist this particular amendment. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, thank you, Madam
Eastern
Chair.
Shore.
I appreciate what you said, and I'm just saying it works for us. That's all I'm saying. It works for us. We are not the rest of the state, and I'm sorry if I impugn somebody. I don't mean to do that necessarily. I actually like the delegate, but I'm the one. But this is something that is important to us, and I appreciate the comments. But you know what? All my life, I've served in local government, I've served in state government, and this has always been about the kids. This is working for us. Why is that a problem in this General Assembly? It's working for the people of the Eastern Shore, ESMEC, the people that actually educate our kids, and we're doing pretty well. I'd have to say I would go along with this amendment. I'd sit back and say, for the sake of everybody that's sitting here arguing so vehemently, or if I don't mean to do that word either because that must be bad, but I sit back and say it's working for us. Let us have it. It's not a big deal. It's not going to be something that's going to change the course of education. These people are getting a benefit from it. Why are we resisting this? I'm done. Thank you.
Chair of the committee.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. To reply to that specific comment, under the bill, that school has about 2.5 years until 2026 to come into compliance, which also allows the jurisdiction to find other alternatives should they go in that direction. 2.5 years. So we did provide some grace with recognition that there were kids currently enrolled in that school. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you.
Madam Speaker, very briefly.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We've heard a lot of passion from my friends from the Eastern Shore. I don't live on the Eastern Shore. 90% or more of the people here don't live on the Eastern Shore. We've heard a lot of passion from them. When my friend from Del Mar quotes the Herb Brooks speech from Miracle on Ice, you know that it means something to him. I'm not joking about that. He doesn't speak much. He meant that. I don't really, it's not an issue to me, certificated teachers, non-certificated teachers, profit, not-for-profit. I know someone very well. They're not in this chamber. They're not a member of this General Assembly, but they work here, and I've gotten to know them very, very well. And I think incredibly highly of them, as highly as I think of anyone that I've encountered in my 9 years here. That as a child in this program, and they told me that the reason they have a child in this program is because they were bullied so badly that they believed that the child's mental health had deteriorated to the point where they were very concerned about their well-being. And they told me that this program, this particular program, they believed had helped to save their child's life. Bullying is, God, what a horrible thing, what a horrible place we've come to where children have to endure some of that. That's part of what my friend from Caroline County mentioned. That's part of why this program exists, is for kids that are having such a difficult time in school and they still want to get learning, and they provide this to them. And I guess what I would say is, whatever you do on this amendment, whatever you do, stop worrying about the adults. Stop worrying about the adults. The adults will be fine. The adults will figure out a way to move forward. Stop worrying about the educational bureaucracy and the requirements and the rules and what's in the CFR and what's in the local rule, and just think about, do people who have their kids, because most people in this room are parents at some level, many of us, if people who have their kids say, please keep doing this, please let me keep doing this, it's good for my kid, let them keep doing it. That's all. I hope that you consider voting green on the amendment for the right reasons. Thank you.
One last time, Madam Speaker, if I may. Yes. I just want to point out that this in no way stops the program. This in no way stops the program. That student who is in that program because they were bullied, there can still be a program. The individual counties can do it individually, or they can continue with the consortium. In fact, we think that we might see consortiums actually pop up in other smaller populated counties. We welcome that. It's a question of who runs a school and who are we comfortable with. Please resist the amendment. We're giving them 2.5 years to make the transition. It should be smooth, and I think it will be for the best for all the children, not only on the Eastern Shore, but across the state.
Gentleman from the Eastern Shore.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Someone asked for, facts as far as the the success rate. So, there was conversation about students watching video and so forth. And I said earlier, I'm not a fan of virtual education, but it works for some. And watching videos and so forth is very much a part of virtual education. This school, according to the Eastern Shore of Maryland Consortium, has a success rate in the 80 percentile for their students and a graduation rate in the high 80 percentile. There are the facts. There are the numbers. Someone asked for, I believe it was Madam Chair. That's the numbers. That's the success. Madam Speaker, I ask you to move the amendment. Thank you.
Gentleman from the Eastern
Thank you,
Shore.
Madam Speaker. And I'll be very, very brief. I just want to clarify a couple of things. This is really an Eastern Shore bill. The reason why I say that is no other jurisdiction anywhere in the state has a blended virtual system already. This blended virtual system was actually created before this bill and this law was passed, and that's the reason why we're asking for this amendment. It's going to extend it from 2 years, and he's correct, and I appreciate giving us the 2 years, to add another 3 years to that to make it a total of 5. And the reason why we're doing that, I don't know where this list came from. None of our superintendents are aware of this list of 10 nonprofits that do this. The reason why we're asking for this bill, or this amendment, is because if a year from now or 2 years from now, in order for us to buy more time, we have to come before you guys and actually pass a bill. And if we can't even pass this amendment, I can guarantee you that we'll never get a bill passed. And then that'll be the difference between either having this program that these kids love and it doesn't. And lastly, I will say that our schools on the Eastern Shore are high-achieving schools already. And honestly, the program that they have with this blended virtual system this is a system that honestly other school systems across the state should consider using, because like our minority leaders had talked about, some of these kids actually benefit from this program, where socially they don't work in classrooms, and this has given them an opportunity to remain a public school student, but also learn virtually and at home. Thank you.
Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from the Eastern Shore.
Earlier this session, I stood up here to support a bill about bullying as well, and I went against my colleagues here over that one. This is one where I am very passionate that this is an Eastern Shore issue. This is a school that's working extremely well. Please move the amendment.
Gentlelady from Anne Arundel.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So before we vote on this amendment, I have a couple of questions for the floor leader, because I'm understanding that this amendment is a local amendment, but the bill at large affects the entire state. And so I saw in the testimony that my county, Anne Arundel County Public Schools, was favorable with amendments, and it says that they were concerned regarding the requirement of this bill to provide social and emotional wellness components to the students in virtual schools, and they were requesting that that language be struck from the bill. And so my question is, was that language struck from the bill?
I'm not sure.
Floor leader.
We're on a different subject. No, it wasn't struck.
Okay, so all schools will be required to provide the social and emotional wellness.
Yeah, and part of the point is that that's what the bill's about. It's about creating some structure for virtual schools. As I said, I commend the Eastern Shore for stepping out. We just need to give them some structure here that we're interested in.
And gentlelady, this is not on the amendment what you're referring to.
Well, I understand that, but since it's going to affect the Eastern Shore, the amendment is for the Eastern Shore. I was wondering if this request from the public school system to not provide social emotional wellness component was in the bill or not, since we had talked about for-profit, not-for-profit motives, things like that. Thank you very much.
On the amendment, all in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed?
Roll call.
Roll call.
Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, to explain my vote.
To explain your vote.
Like I said, let's look at the board. This is a local vote, guys. 9 delegates from the Eastern Shore, 9 counties, 3 districts. Every single one of us, bipartisan, voted for this amendment. All these red votes, it has nothing to do with you. Not a damn thing to do with you. At all. You know what? I don't care. Madam Speaker, I really don't care at this point.
Let me explain something. Oftentimes we have the reverse a lot of times. So for you to say that, everybody has a right in terms of how they want to vote.
Sure.
Okay? And please tone it down, 'cause that's not like you.
It may not be like me. You're absolutely right. But when a bill or an amendment affects the folks, my friends, my neighbors, and the people and around me, and the folks that I represent, I do get very emotional. And this is something that we could potentially take from them. And my point here is that when we talked about our founding fathers before, we have an opportunity to amend bills because in committee you can't think of everything, right? And we have an opportunity to make a bill better. But you know what? As a matter of policy, for some reason, maybe it's an unwritten policy, whenever we bring an amendment to the floor, we don't vote for it. We vote right on it. It doesn't matter. It just seems like that's the policy. So what, honestly, Madam Speaker, and somebody can answer this question for me, please. You guys oftentimes will say, hey, thank you for bringing the amendment. What incentive do we have to give you guys a full heads up to present an argument when, in fact, you're never going to take the amendment anyway? This is one amendment, honestly, that I can't believe you guys aren't voting green on. But anyway, I'm just disappointed. What can I say?
Madam Speaker, explain my vote.
Explain your vote.
I could agree with the guy from Caroline County. We look at this, and I hear this every day. And as a county commissioner, I heard it every day. This is about the kids. This is about the kids. This is about the kids. This amendment works for my kids, the kids in my district. Doesn't matter a hoot to anybody here, apparently, but it matters to my district, and it's working. But yet we're going to sit here as a body and say, no, it doesn't work for Baltimore City, it doesn't work for Montgomery County, it doesn't work for Prince George's County, but it works for my district. It works for the Eastern Shore that had maybe 30 or 40 years ago when we decided to go to the Senate, making it smaller, it would have mattered. But this time, it's working for my kids. And we may not work for everybody, but this is about the kids. But apparently it's not about the kids anymore. It's about politics. And I have a problem with that. And I don't usually stand up on the floor and talk about this stuff. But this is a real problem, because if you're going to sit here and tell me every day this is about the kids, it's not about the kids. It's about money. It's about dollars. It's about unions. It's about everything but the kids. But thank you for your attention.
Clerk will take the call. The amendment fails. Senate Bill 610 is on third reading and final passage. Clerk will take the call.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 96 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 610, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 650, Public Safety State Disaster Recovery Fund.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 133 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 650, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 694, Department of Natural Resources, Real Property, Exchange with Private Real Property.
It's on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There will be 139 votes in the affirmative. Senate Bill 694, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 772, State Board of Nursing Peer Advisory Committees, Scopes of Practice and Licensure Requirements.
It's on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 137 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 772, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Madam Speaker, what's the bill?
General Lady from Prince George's.
Madam Speaker, Can I please, my finger was not working, and probably my brain. Can I please make sure that I'm noted as an aye on Senate Bill 772? Thank you.
Get the gold slip up. Gentlelady from Baltimore County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Senate Bill 650 to no, please.
Any other?
Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from Baltimore County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Senate Bill SB 24 to nay, please, to red.
Any other vote changes?
Yep, Madam Speaker.
Yes.
Yes. My vote was not recorded on SB 772 in the yes, green. Thank you.
Do we do this? Did we do this?
I haven't read it. I haven't.
Okay, clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 880, Baltimore Regional Water Governance Task Force.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change your vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 135 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 880, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Calendar of third reading, Senate Bills number 73. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 654, Harford County Alcoholic Beverages Class HC Health Club License.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There be 140 votes in the affirmative. Senate Bill 654, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read next bill.
Senate Bill 760, Security Guard Agencies, Security Guard Employers, and Security Guard Standards and Certifications.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change your vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 108 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 760, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read next bill.
Senate Bill 765, Baltimore City, 41st District, Alcoholic Beverages Licenses.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change your vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 140 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 765, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 959, Higher Education, Maryland 529 Program Reform.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate?
Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker.
Gentlelady for,
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Will the floor leader please rise?
Are you a gentlelady?
I said gentlelady from Hartford.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I mean, I know we're allowed to decide and all, but Lord, that was a quick change for him. I just wanted to say, Madam Speaker, I'm so glad to see this bill up here. We had a wonderful gentle lady from Baltimore County who put an enormous amount of work into this. I won't say her name on the floor. I think everyone knows who she is, but I just wanted to stand and thank her for working incredibly hard. A lot of my constituents, and I know a lot of our constituents, were hurt very badly by this situation, and I'm really thankful for her and all the work that she did on this bill. Even though her name may not be on this bill, she certainly deserves our thanks and our applause.
And if she can stand up, stand up. Thank you. Okay, SB 959 is on third reading and final passage. Clerk will take the call. Call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change your vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 140 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 959, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Calendar of third reading, Senate Bills number 62. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 8, Mental Health Treatment Plans for Individuals in Facilities and Residents Grievance System.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 140 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 8, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 158, Pesticides, PFAS Testing Study.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 135 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 158, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 424, Eligible Projects Procurement of Construction Materials by Clean Maryland Act.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 106 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 424, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 582, Behavioral Health Care, Treatment and Access, Behavioral Health Model for Maryland.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 138 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 582, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 720, Horse Racing, Extension of Maryland Horse Racing Act and Establishment of Maryland Thoroughbred Racetrack Operating Authority.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change your vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 138 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 720, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 840, Public Safety, Protecting Against Hate Crimes Grant Fund Establishment.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change your vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 136 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 840, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 851, Maryland General and Limited Power of Attorney Act, alterations.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There be 140 votes in the affirmative. Senate Bill 851, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed.
Madam Speaker.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My button didn't work at Senate Bill 959. I need to be in the green, please.
Any other vote changes?
Madam Speaker.
Gentlelady from Baltimore County.
Thank you. Senate Bill 760 to no, please. Nay.
Any other
Madam
vote?
Speaker.
Yes. Baltimore County.
Senate Bill 650 and Senate Bill 760 from green to red, please.
Any other vote changes? Okay. Message from the Senate.
Madam Speaker,
Yes.
I'd like to be recorded on green for SB 58882, please.
Okay. Slips up.
I will.
Any other vote changes? Message from the Senate, number 40. Senate bills introduced in the House. The clerk will read the bills and committee assignments.
Senate Bill 208, Senator Bailey, House Rules. Senate Bill 226, Senator Salling, House Rules. Senate Bill 387, Senator Lewis Young, House Rules, by order of Sylvia Seeger, Chief Clerk.
Report of the Committee on Ways and Means, report number 51. Clerk will read the bill.
I think it's 31.
Excuse me, 31.
Senate Bill 621, Gaming, Sports Wagering, Independent Evaluation of Sports Wagering Content and Sports Wagering Facility Application Amendments. Favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the floor leader.
Thank you, thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much be considered the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
Amendment number 1 is technical. Amendment number 2 prohibits an employee or principal of an independent evaluator or the independent evaluator as an entity from wagering on a sporting event. It clarifies that an independent evaluator may be compensated by a sports wagering licensee or operator for independent evaluation services and requires the Maryland Lottery and Gaming Control Committee to adopt regulations to implement the bill rather than establish certain other standards. Move the committee amendment and also move the committee amendments. Thank you.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Amendments have been adopted. Question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Gentleman from the Eastern Shore.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have an amendment at desk, 973-922/1.
Amendment number 1.
So much be considered the reading of the amendment.
So ordered.
So I have a letter, I'll be very brief. So I have a letter submitted in testimony from Maryland Lottery and Gaming Control Agency, and in the letter, they believe an independent, quote, independent evaluator with sports wagering content or an entity conducting an independent evaluation of sports wagering content that is licensed by the Maryland Lottery and Gaming Control Agency should not be compensated by sports wagering licensees and operators. So my amendment aligns the bill with the recommendation coming from the Maryland Lottery and Gaming Control Agency that would not allow an independent evaluator to be paid by the company that they are examining, and I'd ask the body to move the amendment.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendment. All in favor?
Thank you,
I'm
Madam
sorry.
Speaker. The amendment is viewed as being friendly. Thank you.
Okay, so I don't need to say it now. See, I foresaw that happening. So I will do.
So did I.
Okay. Well, for protocol, the question for the House is adoption of the amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The amendment has been adopted. Questions now is the adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered past the third reading. Report of the Committee on Judiciary. Report number 42. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 192, Criminal Procedure, Facial Recognition Technology, Requirements, Procedures, and Prohibitions. Favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the Vice Chair of the Committee.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much we consider the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
Amendment number 1 is technical. Amendment number 2 adds provisions regarding law enforcement, technology, and safety measures relating to school bus stop violations. Move the amendments.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The amendment is adopted. Question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered past the third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 291, Courts Prohibited Liability Agreements, Recreational Facilities. Favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Move so much be the reading the amendments.
So ordered.
The amendment adds bodily injury to the bill and adds that a summer camp that operates for less than 12 weeks in a year as an exception under the bill. Move the amendment.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The amendments have been adopted. Question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered past the third reading. Concurrence calendar number 36. The clerk will read the bill and the Senate amendments. Thirty-six.
House Bill 201, Maryland Consolidated Capital Bond Loan of 2023. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing committee chair.
Move to concur in the Senate amendments.
Question for the House is to concur in the Senate amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 201 is on third reading and final passage. Clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change your vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 136 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 201, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Messages. House Bill 282. The clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 282, Financial Institutions, Mortgage Loan Originators, Independent Contractors. Amendment number 1.
Clerk will read the message from the Senate.
Ladies and gentlemen of the House of Delegates, the Senate does not recede in the Senate amendments and respectfully request the House reconsider and concur. Should the House prefer a conference committee to confer on the disagreeing votes of the two houses, the Senate appoints Senator Klausmeyer, Chair, Senator Bidel, and Senator Mount. Said bill is returned herewith.
The clerk will read the message to the Senate.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, the House of Delegates still does not concur in the Senate amendments to the House bill and agrees to a conference committee to confer on the disagreeing votes of the two houses. The Senate has appointed Senator Klausmeyer, Chair, Senator Bidel, and Senator Mounts. The House appoints Delegate Amprey, Chair, Delegate Rogers, and Delegate Rhodes. Said bill is returned herewith.
Okay. Conference committee report. House Bill 98. The clerk will read the bill and the conference committee report.
House Bill 998, Condominiums, Mandatory Insurance Coverage Alterations. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the chair of the conference committee report. Someone from E&T? Chair of the committee? Someone?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We concur with the conference committee report. Move the conference committee report, Madam Speaker.
The motion before the House is to adopt the conference committee report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The conference committee report is adopted. House Bill 98 is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change your vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 140 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 98, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Conference committee report. House Bill 440, Senate Bill 448. The clerk will read the bill and the conference committee report.
Senate Bill 448, Alcoholic Beverages, Manufacturers, Licenses, and Off-Site Permits. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the chair of the conference committee report.
We move to concur with the Senate conference report.
Okay.
Move the conference committee report, Madam Speaker.
The motion for the House is to adopt the conference committee report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Conference committee report is adopted. Senate Bill 448 is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 139 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 448, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Messages. Senate Bill number 506. The clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 506, Town of Forest Heights, Prince George's County Urban Renewal Authority for Blight Clearance, Amendment number 1.
The clerk will read the message from the Senate.
Ladies and gentlemen of the House of Delegates, the Senate refused to concur in the House amendments and respectfully requests the House recede from its position. Said bill is returned herewith.
Recognizing the chair of the committee.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The House moves to recede.
The motion for the House is to recede in the House amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay. I know who said that. Oppose? The ayes have it. The House has receded. The clerk will call the roll for third reading and final passage.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 125 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 506, have received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Concurrence calendar number 31. Ho. Oh. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, the House of Delegates recedes from its position on Senate Bill 506. Said bill is returned herewith.
All right. I can do this now. We're on 31. We're on 31. All right, concurrence calendar number 31. The clerk will read the bill and the Senate amendments.
House Bill 210, Baltimore County Board of Education Member Elections and Appointments, Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move to concur with the Senate amendments.
Question for the House is to concur in the Senate amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 210 is on third reading and final passage. Clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change your vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 138 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 210, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 410, Election Reform Act of 2023, Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move to concur with the Senate amendments.
Question for the House is to concur in the Senate amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 410 is on third reading and final passage. Clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 137 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 410, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 437, Prince George's County Public Schools Office of Integrity and Compliance Establishment, Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move to concur with the Senate amendments.
Question for the House is to concur in the Senate amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 437 is on third reading and final passage. The clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change your vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 137 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 437, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 529, Gaming Video Lottery Terminals, Local Impact Grants, Baltimore City, Amendment Number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move to concur with the Senate amendments.
Question for the House is to concur in the Senate amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 529 is on third reading and final passage. The clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 138 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 529, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 1200, Election Judges Minimum Compensation, Amendment Number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move to concur with the Senate amendments.
Question for the House is to concur in the Senate amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 1200 is on third reading and final passage. Clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 129 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1200, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed.
Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from Calvert.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Vote change, House Bill 210 to red and Senate Bill 582 to red.
Gentleman for Anne Arundel.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Vote change, SB 506 to red.
Gentleman from St. Mary's.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Vote change, SB 720 to red and HB 210 to red.
Gentleman from Baltimore City.
Button didn't work on House Bill 410. Yay, please.
Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from Frederick.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Vote change, Senate Bill 506 to nay.
Any other vote? Gentleman from Baltimore County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. On my finger didn't work on HB 506. I'd like to be recorded in red and nay. SB 506. Thank you.
Gentleman from Anne Arundel.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I missed one, SB 210 to red.
Any other vote changes?
Madam Speaker, House Bill 210 to red.
Any other vote changes? Concurrence calendar number 32. The clerk will read the bill and the Senate amendments.
House Bill 825, Town of Forest Heights, Prince George's County Urban Renewal Authority for Blight Clearance, Amendment Number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We move to concur in the Senate amendments.
Question for the House is to concur in the Senate amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 825 is on third reading and final passage. Clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 123 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 825, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. I can wait. Thank you. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 976, Mold Assessment and Remediation Standards, Amendment Number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We move to concur in the Senate amendments.
Question for the House is to concur in the Senate amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 976 is on third reading and final passage.
Madam Speaker.
General Lady, for what reason?
Thank you. Can the floor leader please tell us what the concurrence does?
Yes.
Committee chair?
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. The First Amendment is technical, and the second one establishes a multi-state agency work group to study information on mold assessment and remediation. And And I do want you to know that this is a bill that the business community was actually quite anxious to have pass.
So multi-housing and ABO and those folks support the bill now?
I believe they always did. Well, we'll find out. Hold on.
Sounds like it's just a multi-state study.
They came in favorable with amendments to begin with, and
Okay.
that's basically what we've done here.
Who's opposed to it now? Anybody?
Is anyone opposed? Nobody came in opposed to begin with.
Okay, so it's not a fine or a fee or a lawsuit.
No, I mean, the primary purpose of this is to establish standards for what is a dangerous mold versus the non-dangerous molds. There are hundreds of types of molds.
Yes, there are. So this will sort out what's harmful, what's not. Great. Thank you for your time.
Okay.
Is there any further debate? Not. House Bill 976 is on third reading and final passage. Clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 129 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 976, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Concurrence calendar number 33. The clerk will read the bill and the Senate amendments.
House Bill 834, Electric Vehicle Charging Infrastructure Requirements, Electric Vehicle Charging Reliability Act, Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We move to concur with the Senate amendments.
The question for the House is to concur in the Senate amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 834 is on third reading and final passage. Clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, clerk will take the call. There being 103 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 834, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 969, Public Service Commission Cybersecurity Staffing and Assessments, Critical Infrastructure Cybersecurity Act of 2023, Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move to concur with the Senate amendments.
Question for the House is to concur in the Senate amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 969 is on third reading and final passage. Clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 119 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 969, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Concurrence calendar number 34. The clerk will read the bill and the Senate amendments.
House Bill 290, Public Health Dental Services Access, Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The committee chooses to concur with the Senate amendments.
Question for the House is to concur in the Senate amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 290 is on third reading and final passage. Clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 138 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 290, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Concurrence calendar number 35. The clerk will read the bill and the Senate amendments.
House Bill 984, Public Employee Relations Act, Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the
Subcommittee
floor.
Chair. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Motion to concur with the Senate amendments.
Question for the House is to concur in the Senate amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 984 is on third reading and final passage. The clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change your vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 104 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 984, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Concurrence calendar number 37. The clerk will read the bill and the Senate amendments.
House Bill 128, private passenger motor vehicle liability insurance, enhanced underinsured motorist coverage, opt-out option, amendment number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We move to concur with the Senate amendments.
Question for the House is to concur in the Senate amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 128 is on third reading and final passage. Clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change your vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 117 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 128, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read next bill.
House Bill 692, Public Service Commission, Certificates of Public Convenience and Necessity, Local Permits, amendment number 1.
Is on third committee, recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We move to concur with the Senate amendments.
Question for the House is to concur in the Senate amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 692 is on third reading and final passage. Clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 104 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 692, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed.
Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from Baltimore County.
Thank you. Just a vote change on HB 290 to red. Thank you.
Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from Anne Arundel.
House Bill 969, green. Thank you.
Any other vote changes?
Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from Anne Arundel.
House Bill 128 to red, please. Thank you.
Any other vote change? All righty. We're going to take a little pause. We have two visitors. We're going to ask them to come on up here and say hello. One is very, 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 very familiar with this chamber. And one is the governor of the state of Maryland.
We missed y'all. We are so happy to be here, and it is true. The lieutenant governor was like, she's showing me exactly where she used to sit. So we are so incredibly grateful for every single one of you. Madam Speaker, thank you for a remarkable, remarkable session. And we're so grateful for each and every one of you. You all worked incredibly hard. You all did not sleep for the past 90 days. But importantly, what you did was you showed Maryland that we can do big things again. You all should be amazingly proud of this session. We are so honored to be your colleagues. We are so honored to be able to stand with you today, tomorrow, and always. And we know that we are just getting started. So God bless you all. Happy Sine Die. Thank you for all you do. You deserve this time off, and we are so thankful for all you continue to do for every single person who calls this state home. God bless y'all, and thank you so much. Thank you.
telling them, I'll see them tomorrow, bill signing. Message from the Senate. House Bill 12, the clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 12, Equitable and Inclusive Transit-Oriented Development and Enhancement Act, Amendment number 1.
The clerk will read the message from the Senate.
Ladies and gentlemen of the House of Delegates, the Senate does not recede in the Senate amendments and agrees to a conference committee to defer on the disagreeing votes of the two houses. The House has appointed Delegate Stewart Chair, Delegate Lehman, and Delegate Ciliberti. The Senate appoints Senator Rosa Pep Chair, Senator Gazzoni, and Senator Jennings. Said bill is returned herewith.
Concurrence calendar number 38. The clerk will read the bill and the Senate amendments.
House Bill 206, Early Childhood Education, Pre-Kindergarten Programs, Montessori Schools, and Programs, Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move to concur with the Senate amendments.
Question for the House is to concur in the Senate amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 206 is on third reading and final passage. Clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change your vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 139 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 206, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1079, Prince George's County Board of Education and School System Revisions, Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move to concur with the Senate amendments.
The question for the House is to concur in the Senate amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 1079 is on third reading and final passage. The clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 122 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1079, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Calendar of third reading, Senate Bills number 72. Concurrence calendar number 39. Clerk will read the bill and the Senate amendments.
House Bill 374, Health Insurance Pharmacy Benefits Managers, Audits of Pharmacies and Pharmacists, Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The committee chooses to concur with the Senate amendments.
Question for the House is to concur in the Senate amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 374 is on third reading and final passage. Clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 139 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 374, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Calendar of third reading, Senate Bills number 72. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 393, Carroll County Alcoholic Beverages Licenses, Residency Requirement.
It's on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 138 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 393, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 530, Insurance Maryland Automobile Insurance Fund Assessments.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 139 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 530, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 589, Baltimore City Alcoholic Beverages Related Event Promoters Permit.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 139 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 589, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 607, Baltimore City Alcoholic Beverages, 46 Alcoholic Beverages District Revisions.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 139 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 607, having received the constitutional majority, is declared back. Leaders, come forward, please. Everyone kind of listen up here. That ends the work at the desk for right now. We have some committee announcements. Listen, we're going to go in our regular order. Appropriations.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Appropriations, we're going to vote at 9:30, but check your emails. There could be a time change.
Judiciary.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, House Judiciary Committee will be voting at 9:30 in the old House chamber here in the State House, not in the committee room. 9:30 here at the old House chamber.
Environment and Transportation.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Environment and Transportation Committee, let's meet at 8:15 in the committee room to do some work. Thank you.
Ways and Means.
Ways and Means, we will meet immediately leaving floor. The quicker you get there, the quicker you will get out. Thank you.
Economic Matters.
House Economic Matters Committee, let's not meet at all until the next session.
I mean, like 2024. Okay. Health and Government Operations.
Thank you, Madam Chair. House and Government Operations Committee, we will not meet at all unless you get a text, but I don't think you will. Thank you.
Rules.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As you know, on Sine Die, almost anything can happen, and so we're going to have another rules meeting immediately following this floor session in the old House chamber. 2 bills from the Senate.
Rules immediately. Any subcommittee announcement? I hope not. Or delegation announcements? Or caucus announcements? Or personal or guest announcements?
Madam Speaker?
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would like to have the Seersucker Caucus meet at the bottom of the steps heading up to the second floor at approximately right after rules. We're going to have Rules Committee, and then the Seersucker Caucus, we're going to meet on those steps. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Okay. For a photo.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members of the body, I wanted to share an update on our friend and former delegate, Jimmy Malone. Today, he begins a week-long intensive chemotherapy and radiation series to prepare him for April 18th. On that day, Jimmy will receive a bone marrow transplant. The donor and perfect match is his son. We know his son as little Jimmy, even though now he is a grown young man. So please keep the Malone family in your prayers. Those of us who know Jimmy know that he is a real fighter. The family asks that if you would like to reach out to him, please do so by sending a card, and I can get you that address. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Yes, gentleman from Prince George's.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. If you all will indulge me for just a little bit, just a little bit. Listen, today I want to rise to recognize a very, very, very good friend and who's a member of this chamber and is a proven leader and a trendsetter and has grown to be a true friend and a brother to many of us in this chamber. For the last 2 years, this guy has had the honor and the privilege to flex a little bit and say he was the senior delegate in District 25 after the treasurer, Derek Davis, left. He's had the opportunity to serve with myself, and if I have permission to use the delegate's name, Delegate Karen Toes, he had the ability to serve with us over this time and teach us and be a strong leader. One of the things that we've learned from this guy is all of the work that he's done in the community. He has pushed a lot of us to do some amazing things. For every event, I've never seen anybody do so many events in the community, so much so that it forced me to do 2 events for every event that he does. Got to compete. That's how District 25 does. But once again, permission to use the delegate's name, Madam Speaker.
Permission granted.
This is for Delegate Darrell Barnes. Delegate Darrell Barnes, the former chair of the Legislative Black Caucus. He is going off and leaving us here in the House of Delegates, and he's going to go and do some phenomenal work outside of these chamber doors, but he still will be here, right here with us. And Darrell, we just want to let you know how much you mean to us, and we're going to miss you. You have been a phenomenal leader, not only for District 25, not only for the House of Delegates, but for everybody in the state of Maryland. So we want to thank you and give you a round of applause.
Madam Speaker.
Yes. The keep quiet. The
Majority Whip.
Majority Whip.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So to not belay the point, but I want to give roses while roses are due still. I also stand to honor a good friend and brother of mine from gorgeous Prince George's. He is the definition of hustle and motivation, from his work modeling change for young men of color through his nonprofit Men Aiming Higher, to being a serial entrepreneur, merely eating off his streams of income. He sets the bar high. I like to call my brother as the Rick Ross of the Maryland General Assembly. You could say that he's into distribution. He's like Atlantic. He literally has water coming across the Atlantic. You could see him with his roof back, with his head high, negotiating the Black Caucus priorities and showing us what excellence looks like. Whether shooting hoops in Compton, LA, in college, or in the Navy, to cherry picking in the backcourts of the Capitol Heights, he has always stayed true to who he is, and I'm going to miss him, particularly in this pending Baltimore City versus Prince George's County basketball game, but we're not going to talk about that right now. He is a man focused on inspiring change in his community and modeling manhood for his two sons. Working with his colleagues in this body, he took the Legislative Black Caucus of Maryland to new heights, helping more members get elected, build with more black caucuses around the country, making our caucus both a model and a force to be reckoned with. I personally credit this man with the reason every candidate for statewide office produced a black agenda, laying public to the voters their commitment to racial justice and prosperity. Though he is leaving the legislature, he isn't going far, and I'm sure he'll continue to be a model for entrepreneurship, excellence, and civic engagement. The measure of a person is in the good work they do, and he always displays himself in a way so that when he speaks, he is heard, respected, and remembered. Again, permission to use the delegate's name.
Permission granted.
So finally, please join me in applauding the great work of the Rick Ross of the legislature, big revenues himself, Delegate Darrell Barnes.
Are there any other person? Gentlelady from Prince George's.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This gentleman and I came in together in 2015, even though I have known Darrell for a long time. Since that time, we have walked back and forth from the house, from this state house to our delegation office. During that time, those walks, we confide in each other in different things, from our families to legislation to stuff that we do in the community. And we also had shot a couple hoops together when I first got here, but I stopped doing that. Permission to use the delegate name.
Permission granted.
Delegate Darrell Barnes is going on to a new chapter in his life, and a wonderful chapter. And I'm very proud, his family, my family, and our friends. We're very proud of you, Darrell, and I know you'll do a phenomenal job wherever you go. Thank you.
I don't know which hat you're wearing, but I'm going to say the delegate from Montgomery.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Permission to use the delegate's name?
Permission granted.
So earlier this session, Delegate Barve received the Speaker's Medallion for his long and tireless work. Just about everybody here knows him, and they've known him for a very long time. 33 years. Kumar has served the people of Maryland for 33 years. He has served this chamber for 33 years. And what I find fascinating about it is if you look at his resume, if you look at what's on the website, Majority Leader, Ways and Means, Economic Matters, Environmental Matters, Montgomery County Leader. So just about every position at one point or another, Kumar has served. And I think that is absolutely amazing. When you think about what Kumar has accomplished and what he's given, I don't think there's enough thanks that we can give. What he's done for Montgomery County, I don't believe there's enough thank yous. What he's done for all of us as a mentor. When I came in 10 years ago, Kumar took me under his wing and he mentored me. A couple of hours ago, we had a small little shindig over at ENT to say thank you, and it was packed. And every single person on ENT got up and said something very nice, and most of it went something along the lines of, he always let us ask questions, he always let us talk, he always let us get answers, and he always mentored us. And another delegate said, every time I had a question, I would just pop my head in his office, right, Regina? Just pop my head in his office, and he always had time for me. And I felt the same way. 8 years on the committee with Kumar, and I always felt like he always had time for me. And I know everybody else felt that way. The last two things that I'll say is I think that there are a lot of different kinds of leadership styles, and everyone has a different style. Kumar's style has always been kind of a soft, strong power leader. And that is somebody that lets people ask questions, lets people on occasion make mistakes so that they can learn from them, but always is there to mentor them and help them to become a better delegate or a better person when they can. And the last thing that I will say is for many of us that serve on economic matters and have a lot of interest in climate change and environmental policy, the fact that Kumar is going to the Public Service Commission and he's leaving the General Assembly does not by any means mean he is done serving. It just means that we'll have a different relationship with him, and we will now get to beat him up a lot as a commissioner on the Public Service Commission. So, with that said, a big thank you for your service, a big thank you for your friendship, a big thank you for your leadership, and a big thank you for 33 years.
Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from Baltimore County.
Thank you. Permission to use the delegate's name?
Permission granted.
Thank you, colleagues. I rise today to honor the memory of Delegate Kumar Barbe, a true giant of the Maryland General Assembly.
Wait a minute.
And he will be leaving us for more than 3 decades. He has been a tireless advocate for the people of Maryland. We are all better off for his service. It is important to reflect on the journey that brought Kumar and his family to America, and his grandfather's story reminds us of the immigrant struggle in this country. Shankar Gokhale, Kumar's grandfather, faced a difficult path to U.S. citizenship due to discriminatory immigration laws at the time. Despite being granted citizenship in 1920, the U.S. Supreme Court later invalidated his citizenship based on his Indian origin. The court ruled that Indians were not considered white under the law and were instead classified as Asian, which stripped previously naturalized Indian-born individuals of their U.S. citizenship. This ruling reflected the exclusionary nature of the Naturalization Act of 1790, which restricted naturalization to free white persons, codified the exclusion of certain racial and ethnic groups from immigrating to the United States. And later, after a fight, he received his, he restored his green card. And Kumar's grandfather's story serves as a reminder of America's challenge and opportunity. And the American dream is founded on the belief that anyone can succeed with hard work, dedication, and commitment to the greater good. Chair Kumar's life exemplifies this idea as he has devoted his career to making Maryland a better place for all its citizens. His legislative accomplishments on healthcare, technology development, and the environment have improved the lives of countless Marylander. Moreover, his dedication to giving back to community and his mentorship of others inspire us all. As Chair Kumar begins his new role, we believe he will continue to make a positive impact. We wish him all the best and eagerly anticipate the great things he will accomplish. The AAPI caucus will deeply miss our Chair Emeritus, but we know that his legacy will live on through the countless lives he has taught. Thank you, Chair Kumar, for your service, leadership, and friendship and mentorship. Thank you.
Madam Speaker.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam
Dave
Speaker.
Montgomery.
Permission to use the delegates' names?
Permission granted.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise tonight as the chair of the Montgomery County House delegation to also celebrate our colleague and dean of our delegation, Delegate Kumar Barve. Not only is he the longest serving current member of our House delegation, he's been a phenomenal district mate to Delegate Vogel and myself, and a wonderful chair of the Environment and Transportation Committee. You've had an incredible life of public service over the last 33 years. We're dearly going to miss you, but are so excited for this next chapter of your career.
Madam Speaker.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Permission to use the delegates' names.
Permission granted.
Delegate Frazier Hidalgo very accurately characterized the ways in which every member of the Environment and Transportation Committee commented on how Kumar has personally impacted us and how he has been gracious, collegial, and congenial, and really working to bring E&T together as a very effective team. And I certainly am one of those people who's been very much affected in so many positive ways by working with Kumar. But I also want to emphasize that in addition to being a leader, a personal leader of the committee, he has been a leader, he has been the leader responsible for putting Maryland back on the map as an environmental trailblazer. Thanks to Delegate Barve, Maryland passed the most aggressive greenhouse gas reduction goals last year as part of our climate legislation. Thanks to Delegate Barve, we became the first state with any sort of natural gas reserves to ban fracking. Thanks to Delegate Barve, we have made so many important changes to our policy with respect to the Chesapeake Bay so that we can reduce the pollution into the bay. He also was the sponsor of a bill that effectively banned offshore oil drilling in Maryland. And the list could go on and on. So I think it's very important in recognizing Delegate Barve, Kumar's accomplishments, that we realize that it's because of his work that Maryland is back on the map as an environmental leader, and he'll continue his work as a member of the Public Service Commission.
Any others? Okay. Yes. Would you like to say something?
One or two words. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Permission to use a few delegates' names.
Permission granted.
I have a few people that I do need to thank because they've been instrumental in my success in life, and I'd have to start with my parents, my mother and father, from whom I got my sense of humor. Okay, so I knew you would appreciate that, and I got so many other things from them. And of course, my wife, who I identified the other day as being the first female to be the chair of the Workers' Comp Commission. I love you, and I'm so incredibly proud of you. I want to thank all of the members, all of my colleagues in this House who've served with me over the last 33 sessions, and especially the members of the Environment and Transportation Committee, even the ones who scurried off to other committees to spread the joy of E&T wherever you land. And I especially though, do want to thank my subcommittee chairs, my the Republicans ranking member, Jay Jacobs, and of course my vice chair, who have really spent every waking moment trying to make me look good, and they have succeeded. So I'm very happy for that. I've got a number of friends from my political career who I would like to identify because they helped me win my first election. I'll go through them very quickly. Vic Weisberg and Deanna Peel, who did my direct mail in 1990. Len Lucci, Bernie Horn, Seth Mayman, and Brian Hundertmark, who helped to do the strategy for my campaign. Scott Jarman, who kept the books, and Lisa Staley. I also want to thank Cheryl Kagan, who was a big supporter of mine in that first campaign, and she's the person who got Senator Mary Borgers to put me on her ticket at the very end. And the late Kim Lamphere, who we all know, and she was the chair of my campaign. I do want to thank the Speaker of the House. I've served with now 4 speakers, and they've all been excellent in their own way. But Madam Speaker, I have to say that the way you pulled us together in the tragedy of the death of the coach, Mike Bush, and then quickly rebounded from that to leading us successfully through the COVID era was purely masterful, and my hat is off to you, Madam Speaker, for that. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
So I've been here for 33 sessions, which is quite a long time, and during that period of time, I know there are some of you who are obviously junior to me, with one noteworthy exception, 2 noteworthy exceptions, actually. I had to answer that question that was famously put by The Clash: should I stay or should I go? And for those of you who understand rock from the early 80s, late 70s, I guess, not you, of course. But in any case, I want to talk about the fact that in your career, you have to always keep being challenged. And I've stayed here that long because I've always been challenged. And I would like to actually speak especially to the freshman class of this year and the freshman class of last time, I guess the sophomore class I could call them. And I've been here for quite some time, and in my opinion, you're the best. You're the best freshman classes I've ever seen, and you really have stepped up. And what I'd like to say is that as you go through your career, maybe you can do something that I did. I tried to live by the motto of Mahatma Gandhi, who said that you should try to be the change that you want to see. And Delegate David Fraser Hidalgo, DFH, as we know him in E&T, DFH mentioned soft power and mentorship. I really, along with my vice chair, tried to build something special in my committee that was just a culmination of best practices that we've pulled together from all the various committees I've served on. And there's a great Maryland tradition for that. You may not know this, but Maryland was a very, very chaotic place, its legislature, until that guy, Marvin Mandel, decided to get information from the Eagleton Institute in New Jersey, and they implemented best practices right here in the House and then over in the Senate. And as a result of that, we have one of the best legislatures, state legislatures in the United States of America. One of the very best. You go to those national conferences and you talk to our colleagues, and you will find that they are very dysfunctional in many instances. But we have such a great system here, and we've heard some very powerful and emotional debate, but you know, we held it together. We are all Marylanders, we are all Americans here, and I will say that it has been my great pleasure to help to build a culture that, in my opinion, is the epitome of what American democracy is. I love America. I love American democracy. I love Maryland. I love all of you in this institution. And no matter where I go in my life, I will always think of myself first and foremost as Delegate Kumar Barve. Thank you all.
Madam Speaker.
Yes. Gentleman from Prince George's.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. You know, I was sitting here contemplating what I would say given the opportunity to speak on this floor. And I wasn't going to speak because I was moved with emotions, but after I heard the good delegate from Montgomery County speak, I felt compelled to say a few words. And my seatmate said, "Don't forget the 3 B's." And I said, "Well, what is that?" He said, "Be brief, brother." And I said, "Well, don't you forget the 2 P's. You never give a preacher or a politician a microphone because we can talk for a minute." But I really wanted to take this opportunity just to say thank you. This has been an incredible ride. I've had the fortune to be in this chamber for 9 years. Just like my good friend from Montgomery County, I think I've held several positions since I've been here. I've been the Assistant Speaker Pro Tem. I've been the Deputy Majority Whip. I've been the Parliamentarian of the Black Caucus. I've been the Vice President of the Black Caucus. And I've won a record term of 3 terms as the Chairman of the Black Caucus. I've held 2 subcommittees in local revenues and big revenues. In my district, you put all that together, some would say I'm a bad dude. But I put all that together and I say that none of this could happen just like Kumar Barve. Sorry, Madam Speaker, say the delegate's name.
A little late, but
I want to give thanks to my parents, because if it was not for them, there would not be no Darrell Barnes. And if it was not for my wife, there would not be no Delegate Barnes. And if it was not for the members of the Black Caucus, there would not have been Chairman Barnes. And I put all that together to say that, as I spoke earlier today, that this is a historical place, that everyone in this room must embrace the moment. There are always division of good and bad. There are always debates. But at the end of the day, after 9 years down here, I look at everyone as family, because we're growing up together. And at some point, you're going to know a little about each other. And I've had the pleasure to know a lot about some of you all. And as I transition into the next phase of my life and my career, I think this gives me an opportunity to really do some more good, to really now travel and touch places and do things that I've always stood for. And that is, 1, standing up and fighting and advocating for African Americans. Because when you start looking at the disparity that impacts our community, there has to be someone that's willing to stand up and speak out about the injustices that we see every single day. And as I sit on this floor and I hear the debates, I always go back to what would I say if I stood up? And what is the things that's happening that's impacting the lives of black and brown boys and girls every single day? That I think it's imperative, important that we really understand why we are here. The impact that we're making every day. The things that we're doing and the things that are being seen and the people that are watching around the world, that everyone has their eye on Maryland. Everyone is wondering, what is Maryland going to do? How we're going to act. And one of the things that I've always said is that we conduct ourselves like no other chamber in the United States. And I've had the good fortune to meet a lot of them as chairman of the Black Caucus. And as was said earlier, in 2019, the Maryland Legislative Black Caucus created the Maryland Black Agenda 2030. And it was not until 2020 that I had a Speaker of the House that said, the hell with a black agenda of 2030, that we need a black agenda of today. Meaning that we need to start having more bold and frank conversations centered around equity and inclusion. And what does that impact look like in the diversity of the state of Maryland? This is what I want everyone to remember. As you all go into the summer months in the interim session, think about what your next move or your next play is going to be and the impact that you're really trying to have here in the state of Maryland. Permission to use the delegate's name?
Permission granted.
I really want to shout out to Delegate Ann Kaiser, because it was Ann Kaiser who led the Ways and Means, who I think came in at a time under Sheila Hickson with new ideas and new ways of doing things that may or may not have always been accepted. But it was a young lady that said, I really want to make a difference and a change. I'm so proud of my good friend who replaced me, Delegate Wilkins, as chair of the Black Caucus, who's young and vibrant and hungry and excited with new ideas and new ways to do things that I think if we all embrace her, that she can take this thing to higher heights. It is my friend that I came in together, Vanessa Atterbury, who chairs Ways and Means, who is also someone that came in with bright eyes and bushy tail that said when we all rode on that bus ride that we wanted to change the world. It's my good friend Cherise Sample Hughes, who I believe is doing a phenomenal job in mentoring and coaching other women, who says that they too can be someone. And my good friend Delegate Eda Patterson, who is now the chair of the Women's Caucus, who gave me a run for my money as chair of the Black Caucus. And I just thank you guys so much. And I want to say to my district mates, Delegate Toles and Delegate Charles, I could not have done it without you. You guys have been instrumental. You guys have been supportive. And from the bottom of my heart, I love you to death. And last but not least, my good friend, Delegate Diana Fennell. I say we are the C.T. Wilson and Vanessa Atterbury of today. Because I know in my district, when they see me and you together, they say, well, where's C.T. and Vanessa? But I tell you, there's nothing like having a friend, a confidant, someone that you can count on and know that they always have your back. That is you, and that is what I appreciate most. And lastly, my good friend, the Majority Whip. Delegate Lewis, I tell you, you have impressed me by your leadership. I know that your future is bright, whatever you do, and just know that I have your support 2,000%. And I want to close, Madam Speaker, as I always do, with two words, and that is hope and opportunity. See, in the African American community, we hope for a better day. We hope that our circumstances change. But what we are often not given is the opportunity. I've had an opportunity to come in and try to do my part. I've had an opportunity to come in and try to change things and make an impact. I've had an opportunity to stand up on this floor and make sure that my voice is heard. I've had that opportunity. The opportunity now is for everyone else in this room to make your mark, to create your own footsteps, to leave your own legacy, that you too can be somebody. And I would just ask the members of the Black Caucus to please stand, as I've always done when I always speak. I made sure that it's not about me, but it's about all of you. So on this day, on this hour, and this time, I'm going to close by just saying thank you.
Quorum called before adjournment.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their presence? Clerk will take the call. There being 131 members present, the House is still in session, recognizing the majority leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move the House stands adjourned until Monday, April 10th at 9:45 p.m., 9:45 p.m., legislative day, April 3rd.